At the end of 2007, the country fell into a major recession. And there were several factors that contributed to this economic downturn. For one, the Federal Reserve had maintained low interest rates for several years leading up to 2007, which caused more people to take out loans or use their credit cards all the way to the limit, right? Because it's like, hey, you got low interest rates, might as well get a loan, right? Or might as well spend on these credit cards. The interest rates aren't that bad. Now, so this available credit led to people spending more and more money, and that means that more and more people were going into debt. People were also influenced to spend their money because the American market had been flooded by inexpensive goods from China. Meanwhile, the price of real estate had been rising, and banks were issuing what they called subprime mortgages. And so they're issuing these subprime mortgages to people who actually didn't have enough income to repay these loans after the interest rates on the loan increased after about 1 or 2 years. Okay. So imagine this, imagine, you have a job where you don't make quite as much money as you needed to pay these interest rates. And then, you get this loan, and at first the interest rates are low. Oh, cool. I got a house now. That's great. But then after 2 years, the interest rates are going to spike up and increase. That's part of the loan. And then at that point, you can't pay for the mortgage. Okay. But all this, the fact that people couldn't repay their loans, it didn't matter much. It didn't matter much to the banks because all they had to do after that is, if you couldn't repay your loan, fine, we're going to foreclose on your house and we're going to resell that house at a higher price because remember, real estate prices were increasing at that time. Okay. And then in addition to this, you have some banks such as Wells Fargo who actually charged Latinx and African American borrowers more money, right? Or more, they charged higher rates than they charged for Anglo American borrowers. Okay, and so this puts Latinx and African American borrowers at more of a risk to lose their homes if they could not pay the higher mortgage rates. But as the supply of homes increased, right? The supply meaning that more homes are being built throughout the country. So as the supply of homes increases, the price of real estate begins to drop, right? Because there's a high supply, meaning that there's probably going to be less demand, and so the price is going to drop. Uh-oh. People couldn't pay back their subprime mortgages when the interest rates increased, right? And so people start to lose their homes. And the banks who had invested in mortgages lost billions of dollars because the real estate was not worth as much as it used to be because the prices are dropping now. Okay. So you have banks that were investing in real estate mortgages and now they're losing billions of dollars. People are losing their homes because they can't repay the loans. So eventually you have banks stopping, they just stop giving out loans altogether. Okay. Or they greatly reduce the amount of loans that they're giving out. And so this is gonna, pretty much burst the bubble there, and you're gonna enter into the Great Recession. The stock market collapses. People who had invested in the stock market are gonna lose their savings. And several large investment firms, such as Lehman Brothers, went out of business. Okay. Now, due to the lack of access to getting loans from banks, and because of the high cost of mortgages, people stop spending money. Okay, and when people stop spending money, that means they're buying less, and businesses are forced to shut down, which put millions of people out of work. Okay, and so if you're unemployed and you got this expensive mortgage, it's likely that people are going to lose their homes. Okay, financial firms are really the blame to this, okay, the blame for this. So you got a number of financial firms who were heavily to blame for the Great Recession, for example, because some had sold these mortgage securities to investors, and they knew that those mortgage securities were going to fail. And so what they did was they sold these mortgage securities to their investors. They're like, hey, this is a great deal. You guys should invest in this mortgage security. I'm gonna move your money there. And at the same time that they're doing that, they took out insurance on those mortgage securities so that the stockbrokers would end up getting paid, right, when those mortgages did fail. So they knew they were going to fail, and then they take out insurance on them so that they could get paid. Okay, this is one of the underhanded tactics that you see being done by financial firms. And these financial firms would go on to fire a number of individuals, maybe that were involved in these types of practices. But you still see corruption in the financial industry. So when Congress eventually bailed out the financial firms with a $700 billion bailout, many of those firms went on to issue ridiculously high bonuses to their top executives. Okay, so that's where a lot of that bailout money went. So in effect, you get a backlash from the American people who start to look at the financial industry as being extremely corrupt and being responsible for the Great Recession.